Good afternoon. My name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, and Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget that podcast, netnewsnetwork.net. Do you feel smart? Do you like art? Did you know that actually art can make you smarter? Yeah, it can. Extensive research has been done that if you like art, you can get smarter. So let's go ahead and go for it. I found this on a really good website, npr.org, npr.org, and it says feeling artsy. Here's how making art can help your brain. We all could need that right now. Everybody, we have so much going on now. You have concerns, you have worries, what in the world's happening to the economy, all those things are happening. But let's get smarter, okay? We're going to learn about art. So a lot of my free time, as says the author of this article right here, says is spent doodling. Do you like to doodle? I do too. Sometimes it's sitting on the phone. I'm doing I just have to be doing something all the time. And it can be a good thing, okay? Phil says, I'm a little concerned about you doing stuff like this all the time. Turns out I'm doing the right thing. So according to this artist, it says I'm a journalist on NPR's Science Desk by day, but all the time in between, I am an artist, specifically a cartoonist. My thing has always been pastures, that's got an old broken down fence and I put a big tree up and then I've got the beautiful sun shining outside, all those kinds of, so that's always my little go-to place. Everybody has their own little go-to place. She also says I draw in between tasks. I sketch at the coffee shop before work, and I like challenging myself to complete a design, just a little magazine on my 20-minute bus commute. You always find something to do. She also says I do these things partly because it's fun and it's entertaining, but I suspect there's something deeper going on because when I create, I feel like it clears my head. I do too. It also helps me make sense of my emotions, and it somehow makes me feel calmer and more relaxed. I know I am when I can keep my brain busy. I'm doing something, whether I'm creating something, making flowers out of a tin can, whatever, anything you can do to help create that mind and just an extension of yourself. That's a good thing. Now, she also goes on to say, that makes me wonder what's going on in my brain when I draw. Why does it feel so nice? How can I get other people, even if they don't consider themselves artists, on the creativity train? There's Greenlee likes to be on. Greenlee, say hi to everybody. It turns out there's a lot happening. So creativity in and out of itself is important for maintaining healthy, remaining connected to yourself and connected to the world, says Christine Strang, a professor of neuroscience at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, and the former president of the American Art Therapy Association. I can see that. I really can. So this idea extends to any type of visual creative expression, whether it's drawing, painting, sculpting clay, writing poetry, cake decorating. That's a good art form too. Knitting, scrapbooking, the sky's the limit. Making flowers out of tin cans. That works too. Anything that engages your creative mind. The ability to make connections between unrelated things and imagine new ways to communicate is a good thing for you. Now, she is Gerald Kamel, who is a professor at Drexel University and researcher in art therapy, leading art sessions with members of the military suffering from traumatic brain injury and caregivers of cancer patients. But she's a big believer that art is for everyone, and no matter what your skill level, is something you should try and do on a regular basis. And here's why. She said it helps you imagine a more hopeful future. Oh, we all need that right now, don't we? Everything is so chaotic in the world right now. First of all, don't watch the news, okay? Don't do that to yourself. You gotta watch some of it, but get bits and pieces of it, okay? And don't listen to sound bites. I don't mean that by bits and pieces. But find the whole thing and then get away from it and do something artsy. Art's ability to flex our imaginations may be one of the reasons why we've been making art since we were cave dwellers, says Cavell. It might serve in a big purpose. She has therapy that art making helps us to navigate problems that might arise in the future. So she wrote about this in October in the Journal of American Art Therapy Association. Now, her theory builds off of an idea developed in the past few years that our brain is a predictive machine. The brain uses information to make predictions about what we might do next, and more importantly, what we need to do next to survive and thrive. Now, when you make art, you're making a series of decisions. What kind of drawing utensil to use? What color? I can get myself drawn just into colors, warm, cool colors, red, pink, I mean, whatever. Get yourself drawn into that. Drawn, I did mean to say that. How to translate what you're seeing into the paper and ultimately interpreting the images, figuring out what it means. Just draw circles. Just use your imagination. Okay, let's say you're stressed out. The dog bit you, the dog bit the postmaster, you got yelled at by the boss, you're listening to the news all day. Get away from it. Just get a piece of paper, a pencil, and just start drawing circles. You'd be amazed at what that can do. So, what our brain is doing every day, every moment, consciously and unconsciously, is trying to imagine what is going to come and preparing yourself to face that. So, Camille also has seen this play out in her clinical practice as an art therapist with a student who was severely depressed. She was despairing. Her grades were really poor, and she had a sense of hopelessness, she recalls. The student took out a piece of paper and colored the whole sheet with thick black marker. Camille didn't say anything. She looked at her black sheet of paper and stared at it for some time. Then she said, "Wow, that looks really dark and bleak." So she does this with this black marker. Then something really amazing happened, Camille said. The student looked around and grabbed some pink sculpting clay, and she started making flowers. She said, "You know what? I think maybe this reminds me of spring." I know this sounds a little odd, but at Christmas time, and I send pictures out about this, but at Christmas time on my Christmas tree, I love summertime. Summertime just makes me happy. I have flowers all around me. So what I do when I decorate the tree, I have Christmas decorations all over it. Phil and I, every single year that we've been together, have a little personalized Christmas ornament. So I put that on the tree, and then I also put sunflowers in there. I just got to have some flowers. Sunflowers are happy flowers. It'll put you in a good mood, I promise you. So she said, "I think it reminds me of spring." Okay, through that session and through creating art, says Camille, the student was able to imagine possibilities and see a future beyond the present moment in which she was despairing and she was depressed. So she said this act of imagination is actually an art of survival. It's preparing us to imagine possibilities and hopefully survive those possibilities. You're going to have moments. I mean, that's just life. That's just going to be there. She says it activates the reward center of our brain. Now, for a lot of people, making art can be nerve-wracking. What are you going to make? What kind of material should you use? What if you can't execute it? And what if it's terrible? Studies have shown that despite those fears, engaging in any sort of visual expression results in the reward pathway in the brain being activated, which makes you feel good, and it's perceived as a pleasurable experience. Okay, now, she and a team of researchers discovered this in a 2017 paper published in the Journal of the Arts of Psychotherapy. They measured blood flow into the brain's reward center, the medial prefrontal cortex, in 26 participants as they completed 3 art activities, and those included coloring in a mandala, doodling, and drawing freely on a blank piece of paper. And indeed, the researchers found an increase in blood flow to this part of the brain when the participants were making art. Now, this research suggests making art may have benefit for people dealing with health conditions that activate the reward pathways in the brain, like addictive behaviors, maybe eating disorders, maybe mood disorders, the researchers wrote. Now, it also lowers stress. We all need to listen to this one, okay? Although the research in the field of art therapy is emerging, there is evidence that making art can lower stress and anxiety. So in a 2016 paper in the Journal of the American Art Therapy Association, Kamel and a group of researchers measured cortisol levels of 39 healthy adults. Cortisol is a hormone that helps the body respond to stress. So this is what they found. 45 minutes of creating art in an art studio setting with an art therapist significantly lowered cortisol levels. Now, this paper also showed that there were no differences in health outcomes between the people who identified as experienced artists and the people who don't. So if you've never done anything artsy at all, just get a piece of paper out and start drawing circles. So that means that no matter your skill level, you'll be able to feel good things that come from making art. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut into a commercial break, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Let Rhonda at Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC take the burden off you for all your tax needs. I know because Rhonda has been taking care of my business since 2013. I feel Rhonda works for me because she knows the direct questions to ask to better benefit my unique business in order for me to get back the biggest refund possible. Rhonda is an ongoing student, and she knows tax laws are in a constant change every year. Call 256-281-9903 for an appointment to take the dread out of getting your taxes done. Rhonda is located at 11968 U.S. Highway 431 in Boaz. Again, that number is 256-281-9903. And let Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC champion your personal and business taxes. Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer
yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Okay, we're back. The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of The Edge on IAC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, Abundant Television, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. Look at the podcast down there, netnewsnetwork.net, so you'll find us there as well. Oh, and by the way, I am so happy to be associated with this podcast right here with lots of fantastic talk show hosts around there as well. So make sure you look it up and listen to some of the podcasts out there. I think you'll be really happy. By the way, if you have any suggestions for shows, or you just have a question you would like me to find the answers for you on whatever the topic is, you can send an email right there to donna@donnasedge.com. That's donna@donnasedge.com. Okay, so we're talking about feeling artsy. You know, anything that's going to make you feel good, and art can be anything, by the way. It can be just simply just drawing a bunch of circles on a piece of paper. You never know, you may have some art talent you didn't know you had. Tin cans, making flowers out of art, working with leather, anything working with your hands. As a matter of fact, so I've been taking classes through Auburn University's Extension Master Gardener's program. And so I just asked one of the teachers, I said, I don't know. When I get out into the garden, it's not just gardening. I feel like I have to have art out there. I said, so is gardening a form of art? And she said, most definitely it is. She said, I'm glad you see it that way. And I said, I do, and it's like looking at the colors, you want contrast and all those things that are happening. But you need to imagine your flower garden or your vegetable garden before you plant it. And it's really good just to write it down like we were talking about earlier in the show. Just a piece of paper, jot it down, whatever you think it needs to look like. It doesn't have to be exactly like you wrote. You can make decisions along the way. I do that all the time. But gardening is an art form within itself. Anything you do is an art form. I know people who work with their hands, people who work in metal workers, and they make some of the most beautiful art out of metal you'll ever see. A lot of people use cross-stitching for art. Making quilts is an art form. Basically anything you do, you got to work with your hands. Okay, now feeling artsy, let's talk about, we'll go through some of the things we were talking about earlier. And one of those was it helps to imagine a more hopeful future. We live in a weird world right now, so we all need something to hold on to. And let art be one of those things that helps you see a hopeful future. And then the next one was it activates the reward center of your brain. You're going to feel rewarded for what you do. And you may be artsy and you don't know it. So a friend of mine, Belinda Miracle, did not know she was artsy at all. So she had an accident. She worked at a corporate job. She and I have a lot of some similarities. So she was working for a corporate company, had a terrible accident, almost killed her. And so she comes out of this, she'd been through she was in the hospital for months. So she comes out of this coma and she just feels like she needs to do something. She didn't know what it was. So a friend of hers said, come with me to a pottery class. That might help you. Bingo. That's when Miracle Pottery was born. And she had never done anything like that ever in her life. It really helped her. And she said, I decided I didn't want to work corporate anymore. She said, so she started her own business, thriving, she sells all over the world. It lowers stress. We all need that, don't we? So I remember how it was like I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina, talk show, had a business on the side as well. And just driving would just, it was just like you'd be in forever traffic, especially at rush hour. So what I would try to do is, because you got these big interstates. And so I would try to time it. Sometimes if I could just leave 20 minutes earlier, I could actually save about an hour of drive time. It was weird how that works because I wasn't there with the big heavy flow of traffic. So I found that it was worth it to me. Wake up, leave 20 minutes earlier, you get there in plenty of time. Actually, less time. Okay, so it lets you focus deeply. Sometimes our problem can be just focus. And that help. That's a lot. So let's talk about that for a minute. So ultimately, making art should induce what the scientific community calls flow. Do you have a flow thing going? Okay, so I'll go ahead and give you another example. So I'm in the kitchen, and I tell everybody who comes to my house, they'll say, can I help? And I say, yeah, leave the kitchen, because I have a flow that goes. And I just like being myself in the kitchen. Now, you can hang out with me and that kind of thing, but just hang and let me do the cooking, because it's an art thing, I guess. I don't know what it is. But if I'm by myself, I'm doing the only cooking in there. I don't have to stop, and my focus is just like head on. And I can cook a meal, and I should have been a short order cook. By the way, if I ever lose this gig, I'm going to find a restaurant, and I'll be a short order cook. But I get in a flow when I'm cooking, and that within itself is an art form. And so if I'm by myself, I'm in the kitchen, it's done. And I think both my grandmothers had that deal too. Okay, so the wonderful thing that happens when you're in the zone is called flow. So that's the sense of losing yourself, losing all awareness, which is what I do. You're also in the moment, and you fully present that you forgot all the sense of time and space. I'm going to have to tell you, that is the best thing that ever happened to you. When you're just in the moment, and you're forgetting about time, you're forgetting about space, you're forgetting about deadlines, you're forgetting about just stuff. If you're having some family issues, family problems, and we do, Phil and I have some family issues with other family members. And I'm going to tell you what, it can drive you up the ever-living wall unless you find something to do. You got to stay busy. But be in the moment, be in the flow. Try to forget you've got a deadline. Some people have a day of the week that's what they do. They don't do anything in a particular time period. You don't rush into getting something done before 5 o'clock. None of that stuff. And that's what Phil and I like to do on Saturdays. So we're working the yard, working the garden without giving it a second thought to what time it is and what time I need to be finished. That's a good thing. So you're in the moment, you fully present that you forgot all sense of time and space. And that's what's happening in your brain when you're in flow state. It activates several networks, including relaxed reflective state, focused attention to task, and sense of pleasure, she says. So Camille also points to a 2018 study published in the Journal of Frontiers in Psychology, which found that flow is characterized by increased theta wave activity in the frontal areas of the brain and moderate alpha wave activities in the frontal and center areas. It's like this really, really awesome thing. So, and we've got time, so let's talk about this. So what kind of art should you try? What kind? I say whatever makes you happy. But listen to this. Some types of art appear to yield greater health benefits than others. So Camille says modeling clay, which is what Valinda Miracle did, for example, is a wonderful way to play around with. It engages both your hands and many parts of your brain in sensory experiences, she says. Your sense of touch, your sense of three-dimensional space, sight, and maybe a little bit of sound. So all these things are engaged in using several parts of yourself for self-expression and likely to become more beneficial. So a number of studies have shown that coloring inside a shape, specifically a pre-drawn geometric mandala design, is more effective in boosting mood than coloring on a blank paper or even coloring inside a square shape. And one 2012 study published in the Journal of American Art Therapy Association showed that coloring inside a mandala reduces anxiety to a greater level compared to coloring in a plaid design or a plain sheet of paper. Strange says there's no one medium or art activity that's better than another one. Some days you may go home and paint. Other days you may want to sketch, she said. So do just whatever is most beneficial to you at the time. Now let's talk about processing your emotions. Okay, it's important to note if you're going through serious mental health distress, you should seek the guidance of a professional art therapist. However, if you're making art to connect with your own creativity, decrease anxiety, and hone your coping skills, by all means figure out how to allow yourself to do that, she says. So let those lines, the shapes, and colors translate your emotional experience into something visual. So use the feelings that you feel in your body and your memories, because words don't often get it. Her words made me reflect, says the artist. Her words made me reflect on all those moments when I reached into my purse for my pen and my sketchbook. A lot of the time I was using my drawings and little musings to communicate how I was feeling. What I was doing was helping myself deal, and that just gave me a sense of relief. So here's what she says also. We got time for this. A few months ago, according to the author, and by the way, the website is npr.org, npr.org. A few months ago, I got into an argument with someone on my bus ride to work the next day. I was still stewing over it. In frustration, I pulled out my notebook and wrote down the old adage, don't let the world make you hard. We've got to be careful with that. She says, I carefully ripped the message off the page and affixed it to the seat in front of me on the bus. I thought, let this be a reminder to anyone who reads it. She says, I took a photo of the note and I posted it into my Instagram. Looking back at the image later that night, I realized who the message was really for. It was for myself. Isn't this awesome? I want to thank you so much for watching The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, and Abundance Television, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget that podcast, netnewsnetwork.net. Real proud to have you with us. And just think about the stresses that are involved in life. If nothing else, a plain old sheet of paper and just start drawing circles over. It gets the flow going. I've done that in the past, and it really can help. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome, blessed day.